I'm Rebecca Harris, and welcome to this edition of Faces and Places. Today, I have a very, very special guest with me. His name is Sam Beman, and some of you have never actually seen Sam's face because he usually has on green makeup. You've seen Sam with me as we're hosting the Veterans Parade and the Christmas Parade.
Yeah, that's true.
And you've helped host things at the Phoenix City Amphitheater.
That's right, yeah.
So, Sam is a local celebrity. So what I wanted to do today on Faces and Places, we like for you to meet some of my friends here in the Phoenix City area. And I want Sam to tell us a little bit about his life and his accomplishments, because I don't know whether you know this or not, but Sam wears a lot of hats.
I certainly do. I've been accused of being an actor, comedian, DJ, plumber, electrician. You know, it's like like the list just keeps going on. Yeah, I do wear a lot of hats, and I'm just glad that we're able to be here, and that some of them are probably watching, saying, "Where are they?"
That's right. So tell us where we are.
We are here at Sherwood Elementary in Phoenix City, Alabama. This is where it all started for me. So right back here, this stage. This was for me was where they gave me the opportunity to do what I do now. But actually, it was fourth grade, and they were doing some music review. They had all of us kids act like these singers. So we were basically lip syncing. We were making Milli Vanilli happen before Milli Vanilli even happened. So we were lip syncing, for those of you who remember Milli Vanilli. And I just remember I was in the Beatles, and I was the front man, Paul McCartney, I guess, you know. And we're up there singing, and I held her hand in mine, and I started just moving around the stage, and in my mind, I must have been in front of thousands of people because everybody's just going crazy. They were having fun, and I thought, oh, I really like this. I'm gonna ham it up even more.
And you were hooked.
I was hooked, and so that was, for me, that was so exciting and exhilarating. But that's where it started. Was right here at Sherwood Elementary.
Well, music programs and theater programs in the schools are so important. I can tell you that from firsthand experience, because I also had my first little production at Double Churches Elementary School in Columbus, and I think I sang "These Boots Are Made for Walking." But
you still sing that song?
Yes, it's funny, but I do sometimes. But having the audience give you that immediate love is just so much fun and so gratifying, and you feel like you're giving something to somebody, and to be able to do it, to be able to give to that many people at one time is such a gift. And God has given you a lot of gifts, Sam, and I'm glad that we're here today at Sherwood Elementary School.
Yeah,
and we want to thank the principal here for allowing us to come into the cafeteria.
Absolutely. Because
the school is closed right now, but we wanted to be here at a special place. I told Sam, think of some place interesting to you.
Interesting, fun, yeah.
So that we can tell the beginning of your story. And so he chose to come here to the school.
Yeah, at first it was like Chuck E. Cheese.
We talked about arcades.
Yeah, arcades. I mean, honestly, if they still had a Showbiz Pizza, like, that was something that meant a lot to me. And of course, here in the community, we had Dixie Dog back then.
Right.
Up on the 280 bypass. So entertainment has always been a big part of my life. And that's one of the things that I loved about, growing up in the 80s here in Phoenix City. We had bowling, and we had theater, and we had, all of these different, and even the arcade. In fact, my dad and I used to go to Pizza Inn, which is now, it's a different business. But they used to have a Pizza Inn on 280. And we would sit there. He would get a stack of quarters, and we would sit there and play Galaga. It was like Galaga, PacMan. We would play for like an hour or so.
Well, speaking of PacMan,
yes, PacMan.
Tell me about this PacMan.
Great segue. So this PacMan right here. Now, I know for those of you watching at home, you probably can't see this, but this PacMan is actually broken. It's broken in like a couple of places. But I've had this since I was in the fourth grade. One of the parents, one of the kids in my class, was a carpenter, woodworker, and PacMan was really, really popular at the time. And so he made a PacMan for everybody. These little plaques, and it had our names on it. So my name here is Sammy. because a lot of people don't know. Well, people who know me, like really know me, know, because you even still call me Sammy.
Right.
But I was Sammy up until I was 19. But he made this for everybody in the class.
That's
and
so sweet.
For me, I'm a huge PacMan fan. So if you want to send anything, you can send it to. I'm kidding. But I love PacMan, and this to me was like, it was better than any kind of trophy, you know. And they were just given to all of us kids, and I was like, I'm taking this home. This is amazing. And when I was a teenager, I went on a youth retreat, and my brother got into my room, and he tried to climb my dresser, and it fell over. And when it did, it broke my PacMan.
Uh-oh.
And it broke a model I was working on, a Trans Am, and it crushed it. So yeah, I was not happy when I got back and I saw that. But I put wood glue on it, and it's held up for I guess over 30 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was PacMan, and I have a couple of props here.
Okay.
Obviously, this is an annual from 1985, and this here is this is me on the front porch at my aunt's house. So
Look at you posing.
Yeah, I was posing, and my mom was a model, so she always had me do these, you know, like poses and everything. And this guy right here, most people from the 80s probably know who this is right off, or if you've seen a Transformer movie. This is Optimus Prime, and I actually got one, it wasn't this one specific, but I got one like him through a fundraiser here. It was a PTA fundraiser where they, you know, they send all the kids out to sell candy bars and things like that. And my dad, I remember he was pretty aggressive, you know, and my mom, and you know, like asking everybody, like, you gotta buy these candy bars. You know, it's like, hey, you gotta buy the candy bar. Hey, you're gonna get something for the kids, okay? And but I just remember that I had got one of those, and I sat outside, and I had the box, and it was just like, wow, I have Optimus Prime. But yeah, so that, and these are just a couple of memories that I have from the early days here at Sherwood, you know, and it played like toys. Really, I still like toys, but they played into me developing characters and voices,
Right.
Because I was an only child for 8 years.
Well, speaking of characters and voices,
Yes.
I just want to let people know that Sam is the Grinch at Christmas time, and this started out as maybe a one-on little show that you did, and it just exploded into everybody wanting to see the Grinch.
Yes, we talked about that for a long time, because we would do a Christmas show each year that you would write, and you said, you know, hey, we're coming up on this next Christmas, you know, I'm trying to think of, you know, a new story, or do we pull out an old one? And I said, let's do the Grinch. Like, let's just try to put the Grinch in there. And you said, well, if you can write something, show it to me. And then, so I wrote this story out, and it ended up being like a 3-part deal. We did this for 3 years. So it was like one went to the next, And the funny thing is, the last show that we did, we included Avery Jones, Audrey, like we had, and his wife Audrey, Don Terrius Ruff, 2 of my stepchildren, Liberty and Jack, Kristen, who played Mrs. Claus. So we had all these characters. It was so great. We had it lined up, and Matt Medina was Superman, and we were going to do it at the amphitheater, and it rained.
Right.
And we had to cancel it that night. So I ended up I just ended up pulling people from the crowd, and we gave them a show, but it wasn't the show. In fact, the only place that we ever did that was here at Sherwood. Believe it or not, we did that in their gym. So we put that show that we rehearsed on for the kids here, and I think they even ran it on CTV.
Yes, I think they did. Well, when you dress up as the Grinch and go out into the community, tell me a little bit about the response that you get, because it is hilarious to see this.
Yeah, it's you know, either people love the Grinch or they don't, so there are moments where the Grinch will get a drawing, you know, that a child would bring to like a Chick-fil-A event, or you know, wherever he's making an appearance, and they'll bring something, a gift, and that means so much to me, because they love the Grinch so much that they wanted to give him something. And believe it or not, I keep all of those things.
Oh, that's
like
so
I
sweet.
actually keep them in one of my suitcases. So these drawings and gifts that kids would give to me, it means a lot to me.
Well, having children of your own, I think that you understand how important
Absolutely.
it is to them to be able to give that to you.
Yes.
So Sam does other things in the community as well. I remember when you emceed the Opry Tribute show that we did at Central Activity Center. You've been an actor in plays at the Springer Opera House.
For many years, yes.
Yes, and some of the other things that you've done as far as being a comedian. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, comedy was one of those things that, like, I've always been drawn to comedy ever since I was a kid. Toys, yes, creating voices. I love doing impersonations, and I found out that I can impersonate people in sound effects in my early teens. Actually pre-teens, and my dad would have me do these voices at the Waffle House and these impersonations for truck drivers and waitresses, and do that Little Mermaid thing. This was before my voice changed. I'm like, I'm like singing her song, and
That's funny.
but it was kind of embarrassing. But believe it or not, I was somewhat shy, and so for me to do that, it was like my dad was trying to get
Right.
me out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And I would do it for complete strangers, and so I would watch comedy specials growing up. I always loved listening to comedy albums, and then in my early 20s, I thought, in the midst of everything else I was doing, graphic design was my main primary job. My career was, I was a graphic designer at an ad agency, so that's what I did by day. But by night, I was DJing and I was acting in plays, and then I thought I wanted to sing. I wanted to be a singer, songwriter, so I started writing my own music. And I remember my mom saw me sing a song at church, and she came up to me and she said, "You know what I was thinking while you were up there singing that song?" And it was a song about Jesus feeding the 5,000, okay, with 5 loaves and 2 fish. She said, "You'd be a great stand-up comedian." I was like,
Now, how did she make that connection?
yeah, I was like, wait a minute. There was nothing funny in that song. And I thought, did I mug for the audience? This man heals. There was nothing. I felt like there was nothing theatrical about it. And believe it or not, at the time, I kind of got a little offensive. Like, Mom, I am not a comedian. That is not what I do. I want to be a singer. I want to be a serious singer. And she said, well, I was just thinking, I could see it while you were up there on stage, that you could make people laugh. Like, you could sing your song, but then you could make them laugh. And I guess because I had talked to the crowd before I sang. I think that's what it was.
Well, nobody knows you better than your mom.
Yes, I know. And I tried to block that for a long time. It wasn't until I put together a Christian nightclub called The Bridge.
I remember that.
And it was where I wanted to show the city what a Christian nightclub could look like. And so when I did this, and it was just 2 events, but it was at PTAP's old location. 35 volunteers from different denominations. It was incredible. We had 250 people show out the first night, and then we had I think it was a little over 120 or so. It wasn't as many people that came out, but it was right around Christmas. College kids were they were off, they were back at home, and we just threw it together like, hey, next week we're doing this thing. And so I brought in a stand-up comedian that I found out he was here in the community. He was a Christian. He was a part of the Christian Comedy Association. I was like, you know what? I want to learn more about comedy. And so it was that event that prompted me to try to write a bit, to write a joke, and do it that night at the club. And so I did it, and I got some laughs. And I was like...
And then you were hooked.
Then I was hooked. I thought, I need to look into this. And so within the next year, that's when I attended a Christian comedy conference with the Christian Comedy Association, and I got connected with all of these comics from around the country, and I was like, these are my people, this is amazing. And I can tell you, honestly, some of my best friends, some of my closest friends are comedians. I mean, obviously I know actors, singers, musicians. I mean, well, I mean, we both have a lot of connections to people in the industry, and so some of my closest friends though are comics. But anyways, that just kind of gives you an idea, like the backdrop leading into what kind of propelled me to step out, and I do voices in my act. I mean, naturally, like since I do impersonations, I was like, I've got to learn how to write put these voices in my material.
You used that in one of our shows that we did at the Central Activity Center
I did.
in the city too.
I did.
Give us a little bit of an example of that.
Oh my goodness. I was trying to think.
Nothing like putting him on the spot.
Well, with that particular show, and because we did it a couple times, right? 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
I remember one time sometimes with those particular shows, I would try to think of something specific for the show.
Right.
And you might remember, like one time I was like, I'm gonna play a song for you, and I brought my guitar out, and like this is a song I wrote, and it kind of goes something like this. Yeah, guys, have you ever been? And then like I would go into some kind of joke. I would start a bit like, do you guys like Michael Jackson? Like I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, right? Like I just started thinking about like, where does he get those noise? Because when you think about it, he was in a recording studio, right? And I started thinking about, was there some spider tickling him? He's like, hey Tito, go ahead, hit that track. I'm stacked up with the man in the mirror. Here comes the tickle. and so I remember, like I think, and it may have been that joke, but I would work that in around, like, okay, back to the song. All right, but did I ask you, and then I would just keep going. So basically by the end of the bit, I never played the song. I was like, what, our time's up? Oh, okay. And then I walked out. So everybody's waiting for me to play this song on the guitar, and I never played it.
It was really funny. So anytime I've ever called on you to be a part of our show, and you would just write something just like that, and it was always funny and fun. I've always had so much fun working with you.
I remember, I think probably one of the first things we worked on might have been the Amphitheater. And that was where, because you asked me to come and co-host, you wanted me to be there. And I remember us being backstage, and there was a lull. Like something happened. We were waiting on somebody to get set up, and you were like, can you go out there and just talk to the crowd real quick?
Yes, it was at Christmas time.
Yeah, and I was like,
the music wasn't coming on right.
Well, yeah, we had Christmas, but and we had the July 4th. But I remember, and I shared this on Light Talk the other day. You might remember this, but I went out there and told this story about this young lady. I was competing in a competition, a talent competition in Orlando, and it was during a Broadway musical competition. This girl got closer to the stage and fell off the stage. And the judges are like 10 feet from the stage, right? And she's singing, she falls off the stage, everybody's like, oh, and then she gets up, and without skipping a beat, like she puts her hand on the table and she belts out the next note, and the house, came down. It was so crazy, everybody erupted in applause, and it was amazing. And of course I shared that story more in length, I think on Light Talk, and plus the day of, and because I knew that we needed to stretch.
Time out.
Yeah.
Light Talk is Sam's show that he does on CTV Beam. In case you haven't seen it, he's just started back doing it again, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be good.
Yeah, I know that's got to be confusing. Like everybody's like,
okay, let me reel you back in just for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. Reel.
This is a very hard job to do, but I'm reeling Sam back in. Okay, so we were at the Amphitheater.
Yes.
And the music was not queued up just right. And so our dancers were out there, and they were kind of hunkered down in position, almost like they were getting ready to play football and getting ready to do their dance. And he was dressed up like the Grinch. The music wasn't
They
coming
were
on.
waiting for a while.
Sam, help me, do something. So he goes out there, and what did you do? That was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen.
Okay, keep in mind, as the Grinch, and any actor watching this knows, but as an actor, especially as a character actor, when you're in that character, you think you act like that character. And so the Grinch, the way that he sees things is, this is an opportune moment for something funny to happen. And I look across the stage, and all of these girls they're just kind of hunched over, and they're waiting to get the music queued up, and I was like, hold on, I'll be right back. And I go out there, and I got right behind him. I said, I'm like, all right, girls, hike the ball. All right, let's do this. Let's run this play. And I said something about, there was something about Auburn. It was an Auburn-related joke because I think Auburn had just done some big play at that time. And I was like, we're gonna reenact the Auburn football game from last weekend or something like that. And people went crazy because it was a big deal. And I was like, go long, and all this stuff. And I was like, nobody wants to go. All right. And then they were like, we got it ready. I was like, okay, well, it's time to get back.
And that right there showed how good you are at improv. So, and I want to talk too about 4th of July at the Phoenix City Amphitheater. This was a huge thing that happened in Sam's life. We were hosting the 4th of July show, and you had told me a little bit about a young lady that you were going to be bringing who was going to be a participant.
That's right.
In the show. And there was something different about your face when you were telling me about her. And I said, okay. So I remember this so clearly because she had not been able to come to any rehearsals, so I had not seen her yet. And then you're up there on the stage.
That's right. We did Light Talk live on that stage. That's what we did.
Yes, and I see her walking down the back driveway of the Phoenix City Amphitheater. You're up on stage, and you turned around and looked at her, and it was like, Sam. You were so distracted because she was walking down the stage, but she was absolutely beautiful. So tell everybody who she was.
Well, she's my now wife, Sarah Beman, and it's not Sarah Beman, but
Sarah. See,
Sarah.
He still gets tongue-tied talking about Sarah.
Yeah, we were friends through working on Light Talk, and everybody kept saying to, like, some of my closest friends were saying, you guys are going to get together. And I was like, no, we are just friends. And we're just working on Light Talk. That's it. There's nothing there. But yeah, there was more going on than I realized. And she basically, called me out on it. She was like, it's like we're practically dating. I'm like, no, we're not. Like, we're just friends. We're just.
God had different plans.
Yes, yes, He did. And I prayed about that, and God, made it clear that that I needed to pursue this woman wholeheartedly, and it's not just her, but her children as well, because my wife has 4 children. So I'm a stepfather of 4, and we have a little baby girl together. But if you're dating someone that has children, you're not just dating the person. You're not just in love with that person. You're in love with the whole family, and that's the way that it has to be. And so we dated for 2.5 years, and because I wanted to make sure that the children knew that I cared about them, and that we developed a close bond, and just I know what that can be, or how that can go, and so I just wanted to make sure that that everybody knew that I love them.
Well, their engagement time and the wedding was so romantic and so sweet, and
painful.
Yes, Sam was going through a lot of things at that time. But I remember that day at the amphitheater when I saw the two of you talking to each other. I just felt it in my spirit. He's going to marry her. So when you did finally tell me that y'all were going to get married, it was just such awesome news, because I could see that God was going to use you two in so many ways, and He does. And just to have the right mate when you had to go through some very difficult times in your life. We're not going to dwell on this for very long.
Yeah.
But I do want you to know that Sam had to go through cancer. So, as like we said, we spent a good bit of time together, and he kept on telling me that he was having a sore throat all the time. He just did not feel good. Had his throat was swollen, and just
my lymph nodes had swollen.
Losing weight, and just he was sick. And everybody kept saying, "Go to the doctor, Sam. Go to the doctor." And when you went, you got some devastating news, and it felt so good to me to be Sam's friend, to know that he had Sarah by his side, and that you had such a strong relationship with God and your family and your church. Which church do you go to?
Lakewood Baptist.
Okay. At Lakewood, everybody just gathered around you guys and took such good care of you. And the Cancer Treatment Center
Yeah.
here.
John B. Amos?
Yes.
Everybody at John B. Amos was amazing. They're like family. Yeah, it was very, very, I'm still close to some of the RNs and doctors because the Grinch normally tries to give back at Christmas time
Right.
to visit patients and the staff. And because they need some cheering up, they need some joy. Because I know what it's like being in that chair. For those of you watching that are currently fighting cancer, I know exactly what you're going through because you're there for several hours, or depending on what your treatment is. Whether you're wearing a bag or whether you're getting put in, because I had the port in my chest. And it would mean a lot to me when someone would come by the cancer center. In those days, this was just 5 years ago, but somebody would come by with like a Capri Sun or a little book, or
Right.
they would have something nice, and it's like, oh, this is so great to break up the chemo treatment today.
Yes.
Like I'd be delirious. And then I had Hodgkin's disease lymphoma stage 4, so that's what I was going through. But yes, Sarah, I used to tell everybody. I mean, I still do, but at that time I was telling everybody that Jesus is my rock, Sarah is my earthly rock, and she was like my biggest cheerleader. I mean, every morning she would wake me up. She's like, "Good morning, it's time to take your medicine." I was like, "I don't want to take my medicine." I was miserable, and then she'd give it to me. Like, I feel better, thank you.
Well, we're so glad that you have recovered from that. And he has several children. He's got 4 stepchildren and a baby with Sarah.
A little girl.
So
She
tell
just
us the
turned 3.
children's names.
Well, Reagan, she is the oldest, so I have, she's 15, and then Liberty just turned 13, Jack is 11, Alice is 8, and Gloria just turned 3.
Okay, well, we're going to show you a picture of this little wonderful family. But the main reason that I wanted Sam to come on today and talk to you a little bit about his involvement here in the community. Our community has changed since COVID-19. We have been in isolation a lot, and a lot of people have been challenged by their emotions and by not being able to see their families and things. And you posted some really encouraging, wonderful things on Facebook. And so I was hoping today that you would just give everybody a little bit of encouragement, because with your experience as being, and he answers the phone, this is Sam Beman, actor, comedian, DJ. Well, this is Sam Beman, actor, comedian, DJ, father, Christian man, community, volunteer. You have so many hats that you wear, and yet every time I see you, you just seem to uplift everybody around you, and I'm so proud of you for that.
I hope so. And that's not to sound arrogant or anything. Like, yes, I hope I always make someone happy, but I do try my best to try to bring joy in some way, and I'm not always the best at it. I mean, because we're human,
Right.
We go through emotions. Whether you're dealing with loss of a loved one, or loss of a job, or several jobs. I mean, through the whole experience. I mean, even myself, for my work, it's as an entertainer, it's definitely been affected.
Yes,
so,
everything closed down.
yeah, and but still, just putting my hope and my trust in the Lord completely. That's the word that I've fixated on through all of this has been trust.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's come out of all of this was God brought back the opportunity for me to be able to do Light Talk. And so Light Talk is one of those programs for me that I hope someone will be able to watch 30 minutes, 40 minutes, however long it runs. And when they walk away, they go, wow, I feel inspired. I feel encouraged. So for those of you who are watching, no matter what you're going through right now, because there's a lot, just continue, especially if you have faith in Christ, then definitely put your faith in the Lord.
That's
completely. Right. If you don't know the Lord, you're like, well, I'm not a Christian. I don't get that. Then I would I would say that for me, like that's where I get my hope, joy, strength from. But if you don't have any of that, then you have family, you have friends. There are people that maybe you haven't even talked to in a while.
Yes.
Check in on them and see how they're doing, because a lot of times when we check in on somebody else, we get encouraged in return, because they may say, wow, I haven't heard from you in forever.
Right.
It's so good to hear your voice, or maybe a text message or a letter. But just check in with someone that you love. And I'm sure that if you really think about it, there's a lot to be thankful for. In the midst of everything that you're going through, it's okay. I said this on Light Talk one time, that there was a song that I was listening to. It was off the Cars soundtrack, where it was talking about the sun is behind the clouds. And that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind, is that there's always going to be a brighter day. Whatever you're going through right now, it's only temporary. There's always going to be sun on the other side of those clouds. So hang in there, and it will get better.
Well, Sam, thank you for telling us your story today.
Yes, you're welcome.
I know a lot of you out there in the community know Sam Beman, and some of you didn't know Sam Beman until today. But we want to thank you for joining us today on Faces and Places, where you never know whose face you'll see or which place will be. Today we were at Sherwood Elementary School. And we want to thank CTV Beam for being a constant in our community. And we just thank you so much for joining us. And please stay tuned. Check out Sam on Facebook.
Yeah, check me out on Facebook.
And
you can
follow his endeavors, because he's always got his little fingers in something.
Yeah, they can go to my website, sambeman.com. That's probably one of the best places, because I've got links to my social media pages on there. And there's also a link to Light Talk. There's some things that they can watch through Light Talk on there. So check out sambeman.com.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.